Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Transformative Healing for Mental Health and Trauma. I am your host, Gina. I am a certified neurotransformative practitioner, and I use coaching and art to help individuals help them transform their lives that have mental health or any type of trauma challenges. And so I welcome you all here tonight on this fine Monday. The weather's starting to get absolutely beautiful here in Ohio. I don't know, it's probably about 75 still sunny. Sun's still beaming down. So it's kind of nice living in the state that we do. I love nature. I love being outside, and so I just love the warmth. I love feeling the sun, against my face, and so I love that it stays lighter longer. Not so much yet, probably about 8:30ish or so, but actually in the summer, it doesn't start getting dark until about 9:45. So it's actually pretty nice. So we have a lot of long days here and things like that too. So welcome. What's everyone doing on this Monday? Did everybody have a wonderful weekend? I did. We celebrated our son's 13th birthday, and so we had all the kiddos here. We celebrated, and it was just a wonderful weekend to have them all together and things like that too. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and things like that too. So on tonight's episode, we talk about mental health and trauma. So we talk about a lot of healing strategies to help individuals overcome a lot of the challenges that they face with their mental health and the trauma. A lot of people don't understand that trauma and mental health go hand in hand. There's a huge correlation between them both. And so sometimes trauma mimics a lot of mental health, challenges and things like that. And so what I do is week after week, I come on. Sometimes I have guests, which I'm going to start having more guests on here again. Once, I get some other things settled down and stuff, I'll be able to start interviewing a little bit more and be able to have some guests on. And so that way there it's more broad. You can hear from other individuals and not just myself. And so if you're new here, welcome. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe. And at the end, if you would share it out on your socials, because you never know who would benefit from seeing one of my videos and things like that too. So I appreciate each and every one of you. But for the last, few weeks, we've been talking about trauma in mental health. We've been talking about where the body keeps the score, where trauma actually stays in the physiological within your body. We've talked about the body keeps the score, the brain, the subconscious, unconscious, conscious levels. We've talked about so many different things. And so, a lot of times some people don't realize, and I'm not knocking talk therapy, coaching. I'm not knocking those by any means. So please don't think that I'm speaking ill of them because I'm not. I literally, from life experience, I spent 25 plus years in talk therapy. It got to the point, it was off and on. It wasn't just at one time, but it was off and on. And I got to the point that I started realizing that for me, talking it wasn't enough for me. I felt like I was missing out, like there was something else that I needed to do. And so I just wasn't sure what it was. I couldn't pinpoint it. And so long story short, I went on to be a trauma recovery coach. And then I started digging deeper because I started answering questions about things that were happening within me. And I became intrigued with that. I was like, man, I'm finally getting answers to what's going on. Good evening, Michael. Thank you for being here. So I started getting answers to questions that I had over decades of after effects of trauma. And so then I went on to get other certifications and really dig deep into the trauma community and things like that, and, in the trauma world, just to understand it. So again, for individuals that, have not found their voice yet, but that's, which is okay. Um, okay, sorry. So for individuals that have not found their voice yet, let me be your voice, let me help you and educate you, give you some tools and resources, and hopefully, um, as things go along, you'll be able to use these tools and resources, and maybe eventually start working with a life coach or, a therapist and things like that. And so tonight's episode is When Words Fail, Why Talk Therapy Isn't Always Enough. And so a lot of people don't understand, um, whether you've spent years in therapy or just beginning your healing journey, you may have hit a wall, a point where the words just aren't enough anymore. And so if that's you, this episode is for you. And so this was, this is kind of speaking to me too, because, it validates that when I literally left my therapist, which I absolutely loved, longing for something else, it may have taken me a couple years, actually a few years, to find uh, what I was longing for. But through my studies and through, through uncovering more things and in working with other individuals and colleagues, I was able to identify what I was missing. And what I was missing is exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. And so we shouldn't be here long. It's a nice night. So I don't know where everybody else is, if it's nice where you are. Um, I've been, not that I've been stuck inside, but I've been working on 2 websites. I have my trauma, not my trauma, my conference website is completely done. So I've been working on that, and now I'm revamping my own. I rebranded, and so I just don't do traditional coaching anymore. I actually combine. It's NeuroSomatic. So it's the NeuroSomatic coaching experience, and that's where I actually combined non-clinical art therapy with coaching. And so it just gives you a greater healing and transformation than a lot of the other different modalities and things. So let's get on there. So when words fail, why talk therapy isn't always enough. And so again, if you're just beginning, if you spent years and you just long for something, you just feel like something's off, something's not right, and you're like, man, like I really want something more, but I'm not getting it out of this. So there's other modalities that may be able to help you. There's other modalities as well for people that go into, talk therapy. They go into coaching, to work with a coach or a therapist, social worker. So any type of mental health professional, and they go in there, and sometimes they don't have the words. Sometimes they may feel something that is indescribable to them, and then all of a sudden the words just won't come out. And that goes back to Broca's area, I believe is what it's called. And so when somebody says that to you, that's a real thing. Yeah, I was a little late, Scott. I had 15 minutes. I have to start getting better at getting all of my stuff up, so I apologize. I've been sitting here revamping my website, and then and I'm gonna have to just set like a timer, or not a timer, but I got to get it on my schedule. I like to have it up there by Saturday, so that's my goal. But no excuses, but I'm here. But I have been working on the conference website. That's completely finished. It was refurbished. Everything is finished. And since I rebranded, there were some things on my own website that I needed to start changing. There were some things on there that I really needed to start changing and stuff. So that's what I've been working on all day. And then I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't realize what time it was. And so my goal, I need to start putting on my calendar like Saturday or Sunday. So anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. Scott, Michael, Sly, anybody else that's here, just not in the chat, chit chat, and that's perfectly fine. I welcome you. But Broca's area is an area where it's part of the brain that when somebody says to you, I can't describe what I'm feeling, that's because of it's not damaged or broken, but what ends up happening is it's the part of the brain that has there's been so much trauma, so much traumatic things that have happened probably in that person's life that it's kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but in a way it's stuck. And so you can't describe what exactly is going on with you. And so why we like to work in why we like to introduce like the bottom up approach. It's totally different. It's a different approach to healing and transformation. And so I'm all about healing and transformation. I've been on this journey now for quite a long time. And I really narrowed down and found my niche. When I found that I could do non-clinical art therapy, I jumped on it, and it has been so rewarding to watch my clients and to watch myself transform. It's just absolutely been an amazing journey for myself. And so I can't talk enough about it. Sometimes I think I overshare, but it's just because I care so much, and I see the healing potential and the transformation that it has, that I just want to share because it's been life-changing for me. And so, the limits of talk therapy, and Scott, it's okay. I know, I just appreciate you being here anyway, so it's perfectly fine. And like I said, it's a nice day. I'd rather be sitting outside. No, not really. I really do enjoy this. Don't get me wrong, but I know the weather's starting to get nice and things like that too. And so I didn't get a whole lot of outside time, which is perfectly fine. And but it's fine. So the limits of talk therapy. Talk therapy has helped so many people. And not just therapy, but think about coaching, your life coaches, your social workers, all of the mental health professionals that maybe you've worked with. It is a powerful way to process, reflect, and make meaning, but it works primarily through what's called a top-down approach. And so it starts with the thinking brain. And so it starts in the brain, and then it works its way out. And so what happens is the challenge is that trauma doesn't live in our thoughts. It lives in our bodies and our nervous system. And in the parts of the brain that don't use language, like the amygdala and the brainstem, and also you got to remember about the subconscious area. That is a lot of where a lot of the memories, the traumatic memories, are stored as well. And so, it's all of those together that form, the body keeps the score. That's where all of that ends up coming from. And so that's why even after therapy, after many, many years of sitting in therapy, people often say, I understand what happened to me, but I still feel stuck. And that was me. It's not that I was stuck. I was in a sense, but I knew there was something else that I was missing, like something else. And so what happens is, we've talked about this, is our bodies often hold the trauma long after the mind has rationalized or explained it. This is where talk therapy or coaching can reach its edge. And so remember, the body keeps the score. Your traumatic memories are housed within your physiological, which are in your cells, and they come out as trapped emotions. Trapped emotions, dysregulated nervous system, dysregulated emotions, mood swings, mood disorder. You have mood outburst, and so you're nervous, you're anxious. There's all kinds of things that come along with it. You could be calm and cool and collective one minute, and the next minute you're an angry bear ready to rip somebody's head off. And so sometimes when you're triggered, those are the things that end up happening. And so there are so many other modalities out there that I didn't know existed. I didn't know that. I just thought, well, okay, it's just talk therapy. And then I got into coaching, and I said, oh, it's just coaching. And then again, I started going in and doing my research. And here I am, 3 years later. And I found, neurographic art I found last May. And I love creating. And so this was right up my alley. And I thought, oh, I'm going to try this. And so I absolutely love it. And what I love about it, I believe on one of my videos, I talk about all of the different benefits of it and the way that it literally utilizes every aspect of the body. The amygdala, which, is the fight or flight, fawn, and freeze responses. The subconscious, unconscious, and conscious levels, the body, regulate your emotions, your nervous system, the vagus nerve. It uses all of that, the right and left side of your brain. So there's so many different things that it brings in, mindfulness, focus, a flow state. So relaxation and calmness, as it's rewriting your narrative. So there's all different things that I absolutely love about art. So, and I know some of you doodle and things like that too, which is good. But this is totally different. And so, what art is actually a bottom-up approach. And so that's where the healing starts with the body, not just the brain. And so even if you're not using art, even if you're using NLP, if you're doing breath work, mindfulness, neurosomatic art, which is what I do, it works on, not only does it repair the neurons, but it actually starts releasing the trapped emotions, the trapped trauma from your body, from the cells. And so it's why I educate about this is because I've been there. I mean, it may not be right or not right, but it may not be for everyone. But sometimes people get stuck and they're like, I don't know what's going on. Or you ruminate over and over and over again, and you don't know why, or you're learning something and you can't figure out why you're sitting in a session. And you've talked about this stuff before and you thought you were on the other side of healing or transforming. And all of a sudden, this stuff is bothering you again. That's because it's not up here, it's in here. I mean, it is up here, but it's in your body. And so it's your body that's driving your thoughts. And so we have to get it out of here in this physiological before we get it out of the psychological. And so hopefully that makes sense. I can't stress that enough. It took me a long time to actually understand that, even though I wrote a workbook and it's in there, it took me so long because of my developmental trauma and the way that my brain is. It took me a long time to actually be able to say that without messing it up. Like I had to repeat it and read it 50 million times. And I was like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And so that's exactly what it is. It's the, it's sitting there dysregulated and the trauma is in your body. And that is what, brings on all of the thoughts and the dysregulation, because that's what's fueling all of that and things like that too. So, yeah. And so the bottom up approach, we start with the body and then it's like the body out. So we go from the body and then we start working on everything. And then eventually it starts transforming the brain and things like that. So again, whether you're using art, NLP, breath work, mindfulness, there's a lot of different things that you can use for it. Sorry, I got to take a drink. And so tonight, just for the sake, I'm just going to talk a little bit about neurosomatic art, which is what I do. I'm not going to get into it a lot, but it's just one of the things that obviously that I know what it does, but I just want to give you an idea. And so neurosomatic art is a practice that combines creative expression with nervous system awareness. And so you're able to create, you're able to put your emotions on the paper, your thoughts on the paper, your tension on the paper, your anxiety on the paper, your depression on the paper, and it gives you a visual of what you're seeing. And so that is what I love about it. You're literally able to see what you're doing. And so another thing is you don't have to be an artist. So you don't have to know how to draw. I didn't know how to draw, but practice makes, I don't want to say perfect, but it does enhance your skills the more you practice and things like that. And what I love about it is you don't even have to have the right words. It's your subconscious that is writing everything on the paper as you're drawing those intuitive lines, which I absolutely love. So basically all you have to do is be able to come with an open mind and be able to explore exactly what's going on and things like that too. So, I ask questions and stuff like that week after week and things like that. And I do know a couple people that are in talk therapy and stuff like that and things like that. But when it comes to the point that you feel like you've hit that wall and you're like, I don't know what else to do. And you're asking yourself, do I continue or do I find something else? You may want to consider trying a different healing modality, a different healing strategy, whether it's art, breath work, mindfulness, NLP, and I'm sure there's other ones, but those are the ones that I'm familiar with. And so those are the ones that will start working on, releasing the trauma from your body and things like that. I just love art. I love being creative, like I said. So I love being creative and things like that too. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to do that. You know what I mean? And so it's something that I love. Nothing against any of the other ones. But what I love about this is it combines breath work and mindfulness and focus and flow and flow state and all that in together. So it's actually really nice. So I absolutely love that. And so it's through like the colors and the shapes, the lines and the movement and things like that. So it's really nice anyway. So what are some things that we talk about this, but just to, kind of see what are things that, that you do, to help regulate your nervous system? I know some of the things that Scott does, but does anybody else besides fishing? Because in the heat of the moment, most of us are not going to think about picking up a fishing rod and going fishing. And so in the heat of the moment, if you get angry, obviously that means your nervous system is dysregulated. Anger. Okay. So let me back up just a second. Anger is not always a bad thing. So let me just say that anger is not always a bad thing. It's when it's explosive anger, like you are like a ticking time bomb, like an explosive dynamite going off. That is an issue. Okay. That's just not regular anger. That is like explosive, like oh, that just scared me. I was like, what on earth? Like explosive. What are you doing? Oh, sorry, my little one came in. That's like explosive dynamite going off. That is when that is not just regular anger. That is something really, that's where your nervous system is probably really dysregulated. So, yeah, so just wondering, what do you do? Does anybody want to say what they do or anything like that? So, at all. So I do want to, the chat does get kind of behind anyway and stuff like that. But mapping your sensations is just noticing what your hand wants to express without overthinking. And so these practices help regulate the nervous system, bypass cognitive blocks, and offer a way to gently release stored emotions without re-traumatizing. And that's another thing that I love about art. How many of us have sat in a session and your therapist or coach have asked you, oh, tell me about this, tell me about that, tell me about this, tell me about that. And so I used to belong to into a coaching circle. The coaching circle was 6 months long. And within that 6 months, we were coached and we had somebody coach us. Or sorry, we coached and somebody coached us within that 6 month period. And so, we would switch after, it was 6 months, I believe. Yeah. And so we were with somebody for 6 months. And then, most of the time what would end up happening is if somebody would drop out, somebody couldn't do it. So they would always ask, hey, would anybody be willing to volunteer to be coached? And I would always say yes. And I didn't mind. And so what I started finding was that when I started talking about the things in my journey, it started re-traumatizing me. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. And so I didn't do the coaching circle very long, maybe about a year, maybe a year and a half, when it finally dawned on me, like, oh yeah, I don't know about this anymore. Even if I started just talking about other things, it would bring up other things. And because they go hand in hand and the things that we're going through. And so it's just like, yeah, this is just isn't for me. And so in January, God spoke to me and I just was like, I've been praying. I just need another door open because, I could sit here and I could listen to people. But when it resonated with me, it didn't matter how long I had been on this journey, how long I was doing things. There was always some part of us or part of me that would become re-traumatized. It would be a matter of, one of the clients would say, tell me your story. And although I wouldn't tell them in depth, but it would just flood me with all these emotions and things of my past. And I was like, yeah, I don't like that. Not saying that I'm running and doing the art is like the cure-all. I'm not saying that by any means. The more that you do it, the more when you talk about your story, the less triggering, the less activated you're going to get. because it's going to work all of that trapped emotion out of your body. And so what I love about the art is that if you're working and all of a sudden your shoulder hurts, whatever you're working on, that's where that that could be where that trauma is sitting. And so it's working to get that out of that system, out of that area. So it's actually a pretty neat process and stuff like that. So that's what it's like say. If someone makes me mad enough to have anger like that, oh boy, it's going to get bad. Yes. Yep. And it will. And so, you know, people sometimes don't understand regular anger and then anger like explosive anger. A lot of people don't understand the difference. And, you know, and a lot of people are taught that anger is a bad emotion. And really it's not. You know, when you know the feeling of anger before anger hits, you're more likely to be able to de-escalate what's going on than allow it to come full-fledged, which, you know, which is nice and things like that too. So, yeah. And so again, you know, I like to share from personal experiences. I like to share from, you know, my research and the things that I've come from as well, or, you know, the things that I research and the education and stuff like that as well. I just think a lot of people can relate, excuse me, when we start talking about, you know, some life experiences and things like that. People can relate to that and they want to hear that. They just don't want to hear the neuroscience or the neurobiology, and they don't want to hear about the research, things like that. They want actually the life experience, but they want to hear, how did it help you? That's why a lot of people end up getting reviews and things like that too, because that's exactly what they want to know. They want to know about it. And so, you know, just be careful when you're, you know, when you're listening to somebody talk to you, you know, again, you know, going on when we've talked, you know, on previous videos and stuff like that, and making sure that you have those, your boundaries set, you know, how much you can take, because you just don't realize when you listen to somebody traumatic, you know, that negativity coming on to you can really dysregulate you as well. And, you know, and so it's a matter of making sure that you're taking care of yourself and stuff like that as well, which is really important. So, you know, that's most important and things like that too. So I do want to kind of show you a little, not really show you, but I guess teach you, guide you, whatever you want to say. But there is a something called body mapping. And so you know, I don't expect you to grab a piece of paper. You can come back and you can watch this again if you'd like or whatever. But basically, it's really, you know, drawing without judgment. So it's not, you know, neurosomatic art by any means. This is just a way to, you know, where are you feeling the tension? Where are you feeling, you know, are you feeling, you know, the tension, the heaviness? Where are you feeling it? And so it's a really good thing. And so basically what you do is you grab a piece of paper, you close your eyes and you check in with your body. And then basically what you're asking yourself is, where do I feel the tension or the sensation right now? And so it's a matter of being still. And I know a lot of us don't like to be still, trust me, but it's a matter of just being still. And then what you're going to do without judgment is you're going to draw what you feel. And so you're going to use color or a line to represent it. And so this isn't about art, it's about giving your body a voice. And so, you know, body mapping is basically what you're doing is you are drawing out, this is not neurosomatic art, but this is body mapping. And so what you're doing is you're drawing where you're feeling your pain. So if you feel your pain in your shoulder, you're going to draw what you feel. If you feel it in your back, anywhere that you're feeling it, feeling a sensation, pain, whatever. It could be your eye twitching, you know, something like that. You just have no idea. And then that's what you're going to do. You're going to draw without judgment. And you're going to use colors or lines to represent exactly what you're feeling. And then what you want to do is afterwards, you want to ask yourself, what surprised me? Did I feel relief or resistance? What might this part of me want or need? And how many of us don't take care of ourselves to the ability that we're supposed to? Week after week, I always talk about self-care. Self-care is key to maintaining, you know, your well-being, your mental well-being, and things like that. And so it's a necessity. It's a necessity. It's saying, I value myself and I love myself this much that I'm going to do this for myself. And so when you're doing body mapping, it's not even about, getting an interpretation. Basically, what it's saying is it's bringing awareness to where you're feeling that sensation, where you're feeling that pain. And so this is something wonderful to do prior um, to doing, neurosomatic art or breath work or things like that, because you're able to feel through your drawing and what the body mapping, you're able to feel where that sensation is. And even if you don't, even when you're doing the neurosomatic art, it still works, but it's nice when you can feel those sensations and your mind and body is actually connected. It's actually pretty cool. And things like that. So, again, we all know that, trauma isn't just about, it isn't about thinking differently. It's about feeling safe. And so it's about learning um, to regulate our emotions, learning to regulate our nervous system. Because once we get those to where they are regulated, everything else can be smooth sailing. Until your nervous system and your emotions are regulated, you're going to be all over the place like a roller coaster. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You're going to be all over the place like a roller coaster. That's what we're trying to eliminate. We want to keep you level. And so when you do have a moment of, re-traumatization, when you do have a moment that you're triggered, what's going to happen is you may raise up just a little bit, but then you're going to calm yourself down rather quickly because of the tools and resources that you've learned. And so it's de-escalating in a matter of seconds, and things like that too. But you have to be able to identify what's going on in your body first. You can't catch it if your prefrontal cortex is not operating correctly. A lot of people that are trauma survivors, their prefrontal cortex and their anterior cingulate cortex, trying to say that too fast, they are both not working properly because they're not online, which means from the traumatic experiences, they're underdeveloped or they're just not functioning properly. And so there's exercises that you can do, trauma-informed movements, progressive muscle relaxation, things like that, that really help in that as well. And so it's trying to develop that safety. And so if you're going and you're being re-traumatized every week, you're not building safety around yourself. And so the most powerful breakthrough happens when we stop trying to explain and start creating. So think about it. What are you creating? What type of thing? It might not even be art, but what are you trying to create in your life? What are you trying to create? Are you trying to create peace and harmony, more healing and transformation? To be stress-free, to not have a whole lot of tension? What is it that you're trying to create in your life? And so for me, it would be a lot, not a lot, but for me, what I'm trying to create is more healing and transformation that brings peace and calm. That's exactly what I'm working on. And so when I start developing that and I'm doing that, which I have been, it changes who you are. It changes the relationships around you. It changes who you are. You're not the same person anymore, because your emotions and your nervous system become regulated, that you change. You're not that angry person anymore that people, may say, oh, such and such is angry, or such and such is this or that or whatever else. You're not that person anymore. And I always tell people, you're not the same that you were 5 minutes ago. You're literally changing every second of every hour. And Scott says peace as well. And, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, I think a lot of us have lived with dysregulated nervous systems for so long that we just long for that peace. That's what we long for. We long to have peace. Peace in our life, peace in our body, peace in our minds. And then again, peace in the outside of us. And that is, very, very doable. It's a matter of learning about, again, boundaries, what causes your nervous system to dysregulate, your emotions to dysregulate. And so there's a lot of things that are factors in learning about healing and creating peace, transforming. And I remember sitting in probably 2-3 years ago, and I remember sitting with a bunch of colleagues. It was interesting. They would just tell me, oh, you can never achieve healing and da 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 and this and that and everything else. Like, you can get past this, but then something else is going to come up. And here I am, 2-3 years later, saying, you can heal. The power's in the tongue. That's not just a Christian thing, but the power is in the tongue. What you speak, you manifest. And if you keep manifesting if you keep speaking negative, you're going to manifest negative in your life. And that's just not a Christian attribute. That's for everybody. The power is in the tongue. And so, you want healing, speak healing. You want to be where you are, continue to speak how you are. It's changing the way that you think. And I can give you a prime example. There was a guy that I knew. I think he was 35. He had cancer. And he was in remission. But every day he would wake up and he would say, I wish I was dead. Wish I was dead every day. And he wasn't living. He was literally dying. Like, he was not living. His soul was already dead. His shell was just waiting. And it was shortly thereafter, maybe a few months later, he ended up passing away. But you know what? And it could have been that he just, he didn't like the chemo and all that stuff. But there's days that I'm just like, man, I'm just tired. Not that I don't want to die, but I'm just tired. I'm like, ugh, I'm tired. And things like that too. But, you just have to remember that, that what we speak, sometimes, can come back and hurt us. And so the power of the tongue, it can influence us or lead us down a road of destruction and stuff. And that's not what we want. The other, I can't control people to keep their word, irritates me beyond belief. Yep. And so what you need to work on is, yeah, it does stink. So yeah, oh boy, yeah, this is one thing that I have to say, that is one thing that irritates me too, Scott. So you're not alone there. And so what I would highly recommend is you can get on Google and just type in, and you may have already done this, with your, whoever you're working with. But there's a sheet. I have it in my workbook too. I think I do. There's a sheet in there that says things I can't control. And it's irritating because we can't control people because of their word. But it's not that we can't control them. Yes, we want to control them, but it's something deeper. There's a reason that you still want to be in control. So, and so a lot of it for me, it goes back to, I think it goes back to the abandonment wound. It's been too long, but I'm thinking that's what it is. It goes back to the abandonment wound of feeling like when I ask for help, people say they're going to help me and then they never do. They leave me. So it goes back to the abandonment wound. And then it comes with the anxious attachment. And so what I have learned is I don't take people. So maybe this will help you too, Scott. That sheet really helped me. The things I can't control, that really helped me as well. But another thing that helped me was realizing that I can't take other people's words for granted. If they show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. And I just set a time, set a date, and just say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is when I'm doing it. If you can come. If you can't, don't worry about it. And don't get me wrong. There's times I still get irritated, but what I have learned is this. I won't I won't be be revengeful. I'm not that way anymore. I won't be revengeful. But what I have learned is that I've set my boundaries enough that when somebody says, Gina, can you help me? I usually say no. And so, but you got to look at it this way. So yes, I do understand what you're saying. So Scott says this, to me, it shows character. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Yes. And I agree it does. But here's the thing. How many of us have good intentions of saying they want to do it, but deep down inside, they really don't, but they're afraid of telling you no? How does that land with you? Why take a drink? And what that goes back to is people pleasing. A lot of time, I understand your frustration. Trust me, I do. A lot of times what ends up happening is people say they'll do something because they don't like they don't like to use the word no. And so I teach my clients we use the word no, but we reframe it in a different way that it means the word no. But sometimes people are, they mean well, but they just don't have the capacity to do it. And that's what stinks. And I understand it shows their character. It says, okay, you told me you're going to do it, and now you're not going to do it. But people pleasing is a real after effect. I got to write that down because I almost forgot what it was a second ago. So I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. So if I have to bring it up again. And that's what they do. So unfortunately, people pleasing is what they do is they will tell you they're going to be there and then they don't show up. Or they come and do it, but they gripe and complain the whole entire time. And so, watch who it is, what they're doing, and be mindful of who you're asking. Because if this person is doing it to you over and over again, then it's not you, but that's what I'm gathering is that you feel it's you. And how do I want to say it? Like it's a you problem and not them. Meaning not like you're not the problem, but you're making it, how do I want to explain this? Like because you can't control the situation. Now it's even more hurtful that this person is doing what they're doing by not coming through from you. So it's not that you're trying to control them in that sense. So don't think that's what I'm saying. But okay, so let me give you an example. Maybe this will help because sometimes I can't explain. See, there it goes. I can't explain things how I want. I used to be a controller. You can ask Charles. I used to be a controller. I would control and I would manipulate because that's what I could never. That's what I was brought up in my home. So let me see what you said. Mine is a blanket statement. Many can't ever meet their word. Okay. Yep. And so the control aspect of it and the manipulation aspect, that used to be me. If I couldn't control you, then I would get extremely ticked off. Well, then it started being that I would do things because I was just looking for friends. So I would do things and then I hated doing it. And I was like, oh man, I said yes when really I wanted to say no. So sometimes people say yes when really they say they want to say no. And so I stopped asking for help. You know what? I have one gal that I ask, and she'll let me know if she can't do it. And if she can't, then I understand there's usually something that comes up. But I understand, it used to be that a handshake would seal a deal. But now it seems like a handshake is not worth anything. And so unfortunately, in this day and age, you can't take somebody's word at face value anymore. So that's just something that you're going to have to work through, and understand what does it bring for you, what comes up for you. And there is something that comes up for me that not comes up, but there's a word that came up when I said that, and the word that came up is abandonment. I don't know if that something that you deal with, abandonment, anxious attachment. I'm not exactly sure, but that could be why you feel the way that you do. People are letting you down because maybe throughout your life, people have let you down and nobody has held onto their word for you. Is that how that makes you feel? Michael, I seen yours. I'll get to yours in just a minute. If that's, if that is how. And unfortunately, many people won't meet their word. They don't know how to how to really hold their word and stuff like that too. And it does make you mad, and I understand that, but there's an underlining issue. I knew what you meant. So what I want you to do is there's an underlining issue. There's an underlining issue with this. So that's why I'm glad that you're very transparent when you get on here and things like that, because it helps other people see that real people, real life, real circumstances that we deal with and things like that too. But I really want you to look at the anxious attachment, maybe not even anxious attachment, but an attachment style. But I really want you to look into, if you haven't already and you haven't really dug into it yet, abandonment. And so abandonment doesn't just mean people leaving you or people not being there for you when you needed that love and caring and all of that thing. That's not just what it is. It's circumstances like this that bring up that abandonment wound. And so there's something else, an underlining root cause of why when you say mine is a blanket statement, many can't ever meet their word. Okay. And then to me, it shows character. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Okay. So those two statements that you made brings up somebody that has an abandonment wound. Nobody can give you what you want at face value. And so what's coming up for you? Yep. And I'm proud of you for working on it. Absolutely. I'm very proud of you. And I'm proud of you for bringing it into the space and feeling comfortable enough that we're able to talk about it. But yes, that's what I figured. And so what I want you to understand is it's nothing. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you per se. There's nothing. It's nothing that you did, obviously. This is stuff intergenerational. It's all intergenerational things. And so when people don't meet you where you're at and hold on to their word, that's what it's doing. It's bringing up that old wound for you. Yeah. And I'm glad that you are, because most men are not. So I'm proud of you. Hi, Jeremy. I'm proud of you because most men do not want to talk about their mental health. And so I love that, that you're very open and transparent when you talk about it, and things like that too. But again, when we talk about, the abandonment and things like that, I want you to Because sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know what I'm dealing with and stuff like that. And so, just understanding that it's not you, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, anything like that. Again, it's all intergenerational, is where this comes from. And so this is where the boundaries, and I know that's something else that you're working on, Scott. This is where boundaries come into play. And so you will notice over time, when you ask somebody and they don't come through, for me, if I ask somebody for something and they don't come through, I won't ask you again. That's me. You've done it once. Now I can't rely on you again. Your word means nothing to me. Your word is crap. I won't ask you again. And I do not ask them again for nothing, except my husband. I will bug him. No, I mean, you can even ask him. I'll ask him a couple times. And then if he doesn't do it, chances are I either do it myself, because there's times, and I'm not ragging on him by any means. He gets busy with work and things like that too. But if I ask one of my friends to do something and they say, oh, sure, I will. And then again, they don't show up. Or this is even better. I will tell you this, because this will let you know, I would sit in a, oh golly, I'm a few, so Scott says, jokingly, I'm a few cards short of a deck. I can't even talk tonight. Holy mackerel. You're so funny. So I would sit in oh golly, and slides like my cards are bent. Oh, you guys are nuts. Oh, I love it. So I would sit in a session and I would wait for a client to come. And in my time limit is 10 minutes. If you're not there within 10 minutes, I'm done. Well, it ended up happening to me over and over and over again when I first started. And what ended up happening was, and Scott, this is something that you may be dealing with. And if it is, and you feel comfortable, you can always tell me. But what started happening this is what happened. I started discovering my worth. I wasn't discovering my worth. Sorry, let me rephrase that. What it was doing was, I was undermining my worth. Oh, I'm worthless. They're not coming because I'm not good enough. Now they did this. They said they were coming and they didn't show up. So I started having all these mixed feelings and emotions start coming up. And I was like, holy mackerel, like what's going on? And it happened about 3 or 4 times until I would talk about it in supervision groups and things like that. And then, I started working on, my abandonment wound and, some of my other, challenges and things that I had. And then I started realizing when a client misses, that's not a reflection of me. And so I think that's what I want to say to you too. Don't let what they're doing be a reflection of who you are. You're still Scott. You're still who you are, as much as it upsets you, but don't let what they're doing reflect onto you and cause you to be the way you are, to be angry and stuff like that. It makes you mad. I understand that. But don't let it change who you are just because, a few people aren't holding their words and things like that too. Hopefully that helped you. All right. So let me go back up here. So hopefully that helps you, Scott. You know that you can do it. So Michael said, stress-free would be amazing. Even my dreams are stressful. Yeah. Oh, you poor guy. What do you do for a living anyway? I don't know if I ever asked you that. What do you do for a living? I'm just curious. And then, I mean, I know you all get out and fish, and, and I know the winter has been pure HE double hockey sticks for a bunch of us. It's been brutal on, the East Coast, and stuff. And some of this winter has been a little bit abnormal. Coming into spring, it's been a lot abnormal. We're looking, we go from 70 to 30 to 10, and it's like, oh, I shut my heat off. Now I got to turn it back on. The weather just doesn't know if it wants to be happy or if it wants to be sad. So I don't even know. But here we are at like 80 degrees, and, and then tomorrow it'll probably be like 10. So it's like, oh, okay. It's crazy. All right. So you work in a transmission shop. Do you work first shift? Sure. It was funny, Jeremy. It was funny because Sly was watching your video the other day, and I was like, "Man, that sounds like Jeremy." Like, man, wonder if that's who it is. And then he got done. I was like, "Man, that guy sounds like Jeremy." He said, "Oh, it was." I was like, "Oh, that's funny." I'm like, "Duh." But yeah, so kudos to you too for doing what you're doing, and for yourself as well. I mean, that makes I'm sure that that's helping you as well, and so um, which is really good. Okay, so there's just two of you. Okay. Um, so what I would recommend is and I know stress will cause those ruminating thinking to just continue to lay stress upon stress upon stress. Ugh. It's a ruminating cycle. And so I know I only got a couple more minutes because Jermaine's probably going to go live at like 9:35, 9:40. So I don't want to overlap him so we can all get in there. Um, and so what I would highly recommend is that try the progressive muscle relaxation is what I would highly recommend that you do. And that's where you start from your feet and you clench your feet and then you relax them for like 10, 15 seconds and go all the way up. And what that does is it really does release the stress and the tension from your body. You can actually do it a couple times if you want to. Don't rush it though. And start working on those types of things to see if okay. So let me ask you this: like is your stress just in the winter, and then you notice the big change in the spring when you're able to get outside, kind of like the winter blues in a way, or is it just all the time? Your stress level is like through the roof. Tell her I said good night and I love her. So Scott, and that could be your intelligence and your emotional intelligence are higher than most and not being egotistical. And that's not being egotistical. But emotional intelligence is where your emotions are, you're getting your emotions regulated. And then I'm sure you know what that is, but you're getting your emotions regulated. And once you get your emotions regulated, they go hand in hand with your nervous system. And so just making sure that you're working on both of those as well. And how do you feel like working just being able to work on emotional intelligence and being able to understand your emotions and the emotions of other people, because your emotions play on other people and other people play on you. So you need to be able to recognize that. So if you're able to recognize that and you're able to do that, absolutely. And things like that too, that's amazing. To get up there and stuff like that, you just really have to, work on, the other issue to get you, when people say they're going to do something, they don't, just kind of be like, oh, okay, see you later. I just know not to, to say anything to you anymore, to ask you for help and stuff like that too. So, and things like that. So, so yeah, so Michael, I feel for you. I know stress on my plate used to overflow. My gravy used to hit the floor. And now I'm just like, I don't allow my plate to overflow anymore. If it overflows, I turn into a monster, and I don't like that. So, and things like that. Well, you know what? You're not alone. I always say, you know what? Be a warrior and not a worrier, and that's what Sly used to always say to me too. And it's something that that sometimes we just can't help. But one of the things that I of course I do my art and things like that too, but if you can journal, some of the things that you're worried about, because they're valid things. And so the reason that we ruminate about these things is because we think, they're just nonsense things. They're just stupid things. I shouldn't be worrying about that. when in fact, they really aren't nonsense or stupid, but they're there for a reason. And so maybe looking at it and saying, okay, what is it that I'm really, really worried about, and things like that, or, and things like that too. I used to be a huge worrier. I would worry about bills. I would worry about this. I'd worry about that. Now I will tell you, this is something that's funny. Some people can't do this, but I don't even keep a checkbook anymore. Like I don't keep track of my checking account, all that. Good night, Sly. I don't keep track of my checking account or anything like that. My money goes in. I know what's in there. I know what needs to be paid, and I know what'll be left. When I had to keep track of every transaction, I went nuts. There was no way. And I would worry, oh my goodness, if it was off by 2 pennies, I'd have to sit there until I figured it out. Now I'm like, you know what? It's fine. There's money in there. I know what my bills are every month. See you later. I don't need to stress about that. It's one of those things. And I've offered to you guys, if any of you, Jeremy, you included, if you're still on, I don't know if he's still here. If he left, he probably went, but I will sign off here in a minute. But Michael, if you and Jeremy, Scott, if you ever want to sit down and do a session with me, a drawing session with me, I would be more than happy to show you another relaxation. It's called centric circles, and kind of help draw a lot of that stress away, and how you can draw it away. You don't have to be perfect. And things like that. That's not even what it's about. It's not even about being perfect. It's about being able to draw the line. And so if you're interested, I will put up, let me put up my website for you really quick. Artoftransformation.life. Okay, I think that's what it is. Okay. So here's my website. It's not completely finished yet, but you can go on there when you have some time. Go on there, artoftransformation.life. Make sure you put .life and not .com. It's .life, and so you will learn about all of the benefits of the NeuroSomatic Art. And there's videos on there that actually show. I haven't uploaded the one video yet, the tutorial yet, as far as what a intuitive line is, and in the rounding processes and stuff like that. But if you're ever interested, let me know. I do free. I do one class free a month. That's just not on there. If you go to the website, you'll notice it says free classes. It's just not on there yet because I'm revamping a lot of the website and stuff like that too. But you're more than welcome, to get on there and look. And I'd be more than happy to sit down and do a class with whoever you would like me to do it with. If it's you and your wife, you and whoever. I would be more than happy to do a session with you guys as well. So, so this was a good talk. I'm glad that we were able to talk about this and stuff like that. This is what I love about doing, the weekly podcast and things like that too. And so what I want you to kind of look at this week is kind of, look at reflections of yourself, some things that were spoken tonight, and kind of look at where you are and the things that you're going through. And, and remember that your story matters and healing is absolutely possible. So, make sure that you remember that and everything else. So any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Check out my website. If you'd ever want to draw with me, absolutely. I would love to sit down and draw, because it's just been an amazing tool for myself as well. And I'd love to share it with as many people as I can. So you are more than welcome, Scott. I appreciate you being here. I'm going to try to be a little bit prompt and put it on my schedule to start setting this stuff up on Saturday nights, Sundays at the latest, and see if I can get on that schedule and see what happens. So any questions, again, just, feel free to head over to my website, send me a message. Otherwise, I'm sure that I will see you on Germain. Have a good night, everyone. And I will see you soon. Thanks, everybody, for such a wonderful conversation tonight and stuff. You're welcome, Michael. Thank you again for being here. Good night, everyone. Until next week, have a good week. Be safe, be blessed, and I will see you next week. Good night.